I want to thank you all for coming. I want to give a huge shout out to Marty and his staff here at the Elks. If you need a real place to come, OMG. They've gone above and beyond. So I appreciate y'all coming tonight. And I guess are we ready for the, we're going to, no, don't hit the button yet. Okay. So, if you are led to stand up for the national anthem, we are going to sing that because I love that. It's my party. So y'all can go ahead and if you want to stand up and we'll play the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh.
LGBTQ people. I didn't say anything because I was not LGBTQ. Then they came for the disabled, and I did not speak out because I was not disabled.
Then they came for the immigrants. I did not speak out because I'm not new.
Then they came for people of color, and I did not speak out because I was not a person of color.
Then they came for the women, and I did not speak out because I was not a woman.
Then they came for the elderly, and I did not speak out because I was not elderly.
Then they came for the scientists, and I did not speak out because I am not a scientist.
Then they came for the progressives, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't progressive.
Then they came for veterans, and I did not speak out because I was not a veteran.
And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not Jewish. And then they came for me. And there was no one left to speak out for me.
I have several hats tonight. Resistance comes in many forms. Some find solace in attending rallies and waving flags. Some call legislators. Some email and write letters. Support lawsuits. Support mutual aid networks. Write postcards. Some reach out to encourage other people to vote. Whatever it is that lights your fire, do it. My name is Cheryl Bratt. My dear friend Marianne Ryan and I started Resist Trump during Trump won. I'm sure some of you were probably at that first ragtag meeting at the downtown library. We had no idea what we would do, but we knew we had to do something. Marianne left us a week before the election of Joe Biden. I stand here today with her spirit with me as we continue to resist Trump. But now Trump too is here. And Trumpism will not go away. We will still be fighting this after 4 years. There are a lot of people who encouraged and helped resist Trump stay alive. Because he is driving me home tonight, I want to thank my dear husband, Gary, who always supported me. Get me out. Hey, don't clap yet. Kicking and screaming at times, but mostly by my side. And he knows that the only way I know how to resist is very loudly. From building our website to making the video that you've seen tonight, which I think is just absolutely wonderful, and the live stream tonight as well, which you're, of course, not enjoying, but hopefully some of your friends are. I want to thank my dear friend, Melissa Ross. She lives near Tampa, and we've had a 30-year history. This woman is as tough as nails and has a heart bigger than anybody I've ever known. And this is her way of helping our cause to succeed. When Ted Dugan arrived at Resist Trump, I knew we had the brains we needed to make Resist Trump succeed. I'm not smart. Ted is a political science professor at a local college, unnamed, of course. We want to keep you safe. They are lucky to have him, but we are even more lucky because they're smart and then they're smart. Thank you, Ted. You might want to take a stand up stretch, whatever you need to do, because it's really long. Okay, tonight we have Rick Wilson. You got the most applause. Okay, he was one of our first speakers with Resist Trump. Of course, I fell in love with him immediately. He likes the F word, and so do I. He's a co-founder and board member of the Lincoln Project. Know and love. Rick is a renowned political strategist, infamous award-winning ad maker and podcast host, writer, speaker, political commentator on MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NPR, I'm tired, Real Time with Bill Mayer, and various American and international news national outlets. A 30-year veteran of national Republican politics, he got his start in the 1988 presidential campaign of George Herbert Walker Bush and has produced groundbreaking and award-winning political advertising, strategic counsel to winning political candidates, super PACs, state parties, the national campaign committees, and corporate, association, and government clients across the nation and around the world. Rick has authored 2 books that are both wonderful, by the way. Everything Trump Touches Skies, and Running Against the Devil, a plot to save America from Trump and Democrats from themselves. He often writes for the Washington Post, Politico, Rolling Stone, The Hill, The Bulwark, and the London Spectator. Rick won Best Political Podcast in this year's prestigious Webby Awards. I encourage you all to join us at Indivisible Big Ben. We have activities for all, and if you want to participate in all 3 of our chapters, or just one, we would love for you to join us. You didn't come to hear me babble. Oh, crap. Sorry. We can do that. You didn't hear me come to video. You came to hear Rick and Ted's Taco Talk. You will not be disappointed. We will be passing the hat, and I hope you will help us pay the piper tonight. We would appreciate it. Thank you for coming, and remember, resist, persist, resist. That is from my very first thing, and that came from Scott. I will now turn you over to Ted and the program as soon as we can swap mics. All right, thank you very much. And thank you for coming. Good for you.
Got that one.
Oh, you do? Oh, that's just you gotta have both.
Oh, I got it. Oh.
Yeah, this is for the content, but hold on, you gotta have something. Okay. Great news, all this stuff. I give you my two favorite guys. Isn't this exciting?
Not your husband.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for this.
So if you haven't been able to tell, Cheryl is the definition of good trouble. She is a spitfire, I tell you. The first time I met Cheryl, I knew that I had somebody that was bold as sin and twice as ornery. But we were going to get along great. And we've had a great relationship since then. She really planned out a wonderful event. She was able to get the best speaker in Tallahassee, in Rick Girlfriend. And I'm from Los Angeles, so I was promised taco trucks on every corner, and it never happened. But at least we have tacos at this event, and so I'm pretty happy about that. It was Rick and Ted's excellent taco talk, the full title of the event, and I'm really looking forward to this event, and I wanted to just start it off with Rick giving a talk for 5 to 10 minutes or as long as he'd like, and then I was going to say a few words of my own, and then we might go back and forth, and then we'll just kind of play it mostly by ear. So Rick does this for a living, so I think I deserve a handicap.
All right, thanks. Hey, y'all. I'm Rick Wilson. Ordinarily, since we're on a live stream, I'm not doing what I would ordinarily do, which is to get up, throw the microphone down, stalk around on stage and talk. Because if I don't use a microphone, I have a voice like a sea captain in the storm. I'm really loud. So, but I'm going to sit nice. I'm going to sit politely. Because, frankly, I'm a little tired today from watching MAGA and the Trump administration and the MAGA media dash itself against the rocks of Jeffrey Epstein. Are you enjoying something? Enjoy it. Shoot it right into my veins. For the first time in a decade, okay? I was one of the first guys in 2015 when Trump insulted John McCain. I was like, that's it. Oh, he just passed this. And that slow heartbreak for many other people has gone on until today. I got over it in 2015. But this is the first time that you've seen the MAGA base break with Donald Trump. We came out of the deal. I haven't read the spreadsheet yet. My pollsters came back to me. I was in the car on the way down here. 55% of Republican voters we surveyed in the last 48 hours said they were either angry or disappointed in Donald Trump. To give up their dog, screw their wife, and go to Mr. He has broken the spell. What did happen? Because there was an essential element of Trump's character all along, that they made an accommodation. They made a deal with the devil. And they said, he's the avatar of anger, he's the avatar of me not being able to say the N-word in public, he's the avatar of me hating those educated people who look down on me. And why do they feel that way? Because they've been doing that. They've been watching on Fox News for a generation. In 1996, Roger Ailes told me, we're having dinner. And I said, how are you going to do this? Because the networks at the time were huge. And he goes, I'm going to hire really pissed off guys, and I'm going to be blunt, and I'm going to hire girls with big tits, great hair from cheap journalism schools. And the audience is going to think they're going to screw the women, and they're going to relate to the men. And guess what? He was right. They built a machine, and by the way, the title of my next book is The Hate Machine, coming out sometime next year. They built a machine that activated these voters for a generation before Trump came along. It was Fox, it was Rush Limbaugh, it was Gordon Liddy, it was all the Glenn Beck cookery, all the crazy stuff that happened before social media, primed a generation of Americans, mostly boomers, but a not inconsiderable number of Gen Xers, to believe in lurid conspiracies, to believe that the elites were down on them, they were coming to take away their religion and their way of life and their culture. And when Trump came on, they looked away from the fact that he was a multiple bankrupt, a serial adulterer, a man who never kept a vow in his life. I mean, if he'd never driven a car by himself, and he paid a parking ticket. Nothing about Trump reflected the values they claimed they believed in.
Probably Christian.
Oh, Donald Trump is related to Christianity in the same way I am a Zoroastrian Buddhist. I'm related to Zoroastrian tomorrow, and yet I have no relationship to their But look, this moment we're in right now is coming at a very, very important time. Donald Trump is dying.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is dying politically. His image is dying as we speak. He's ain't healthy. This is a moment where the faith and the trust he built with that base has been shattered, where the beliefs that they had in him have been shattered. And while there will be a moment where they start to come back to him, they won't all come back. I'll tell you a secret about where we are right now politically, and why this is good for this year and next year. A lot of Trump's voters, I'm going to nerd out for a second. In elections, we score voters on a scale of 1 to 5. Most of you in this room, I'm good at 5. So you vote in every damn election, right? You guys vote in the off-year elections. You vote for mosquito control board, solar water commission, dog catcher, the thoroughfare general, all the things, right? A lot of the Republican voters who came into Trump's orbit in 2016 and stayed there were 1s and 2s. Why did they do it? They did it because Donald Trump was a celebrity. They did it because they saw him with me and playing for years. What was that character? Decisive executive, leader of the richest man in the world, all of that stuff. I had a moment of dread back in 2015. In December, we were doing focus for a pair of brothers whose names you probably know, and it writes in the book. We did focus groups all over the country. 16 cities, 33 focus groups. I kept coming across this one thing over and over again. Well, he's a businessman. He's the richest man in the world. We need a businessman in Washington. We need someone to lead us who knows business. And we would say that. Like, and I'm in focus groups, I'm the guy behind the glass, not in front of it. I'm not that guy. I'm not the moderator who's like so calm. Let's talk more about that, shall we? But I texted the moderator and I'm like, the fuck is this? And I said, ask him about the bankruptcies. Tell him about the bankruptcies. Okay. So he says, in one of his groups, in Orlando, Florida, one of the first groups we did. But I got the same answer in Boulder and St. Louis and Portland, everywhere. He said, well, would it change your opinion of Donald Trump if you knew he had been bankrupt 6 times? That he bankrupted 3 casinos? Right? A business mathematically guaranteed to take money from stupid people and make a profit. You can't do that. Sorry for the gamblers, perhaps. And this one woman said, you're lying. You made that up. That's not real. You're lying. She got really angry. And I was like, is she a cousin or something? And my moderator said, so, okay, I know you're angry. Tell me why you think that. She goes, I'm watching The Apprentice. He's the richest man in the world. He owns every building in Manhattan. Now, I had a special insight into this matter, being behind the glass, because once upon a time in 1997, I reelected Rudy Giuliani as the mayor of New York. Sorry. I then foolishly became the senior advisor to the mayor in the city government. Right now. This really was before he was completely insane. He was only somewhat insane from time to time. And I was like, that's some bitch owns 4 buildings. I know exactly which ones they are. And he only owns half of one of the 4. So we tried to reason with this nascent MAGA audience, and they weren't having it. They had a vision, an illusion. He was the avatar of all of their anger. And some people in this country, we went to Detroit shortly after that. And a man said, I'm voting for Trump. He had voted for Obama twice. He had voted for Bush twice. I don't get it either. But and he voted for Bill Clinton once. And he said, I'm voting for Trump. Why is he waiting that? He goes, you know what? Let me tell you a story. This is a real thing about MAGA we should understand about why some of this happens. Because it's the most legitimate part of their displeasure with the world. Guy said, my grandfather worked in this wire harness factory. He had a boat, he had a little house up on the lake. He put my father and my father's 2 sisters through college, and he saved money, he had a good retirement. He had health care till he died. And then he said, you know what my dad did? My dad worked at the same wire harness factory. And he put me and my 5 brothers and sisters through college. And we had a little house up on the lake, and we had a boat, and we had a good life. And he looked at the moderator, and then he looked at the glass. He knew I was back there. He looked at the glass, and he goes, and my son's on his 4th fucking tour of Iraq, and he's going to get killed over there. And I had to train my replacement, and now I work in a call center for $9 an hour with no benefits. And by the way, folks, that's the Republicans' fault, and that's the Democrats' fault. They both did it, and they both fucked those people. That anger is real, it's out there. And if you want to start talking to MAGA voters in a lot of ways, you've got to be honest with them about the failures of the overall system, the bigness of the overall system. Because, by the way, the Democrats were taking all that private equity money, just like the Republicans were, and that private equity firms were coming into Detroit and coming into Green Bay, Wisconsin, and they were chainsawing through, going into Charlotte, North Carolina, and chainsawing through middle-class and working-class voters' lives. More voters have lost their jobs in this country because of the McKinsey company than any Mexican. Okay? But we didn't understand that on either side. The traditional Republicans didn't understand it, and the Democrats didn't understand it. You try to tell that guy in that focus group in Detroit, you try to tell that guy you're going to train him to be a solar panel installer, and you know what he's going to tell you? Go fuck yourself. He's going to be angry. Those people have legitimate anger. Trump harnessed it, controlled it, and he transformed what was a Republican Party that was about ideology, whether you agree with it or not, whether it was successful in being a party of fiscal responsibility, it wasn't, limited government, somewhat, of constitutional adherence, sometimes, imperfect, but it had an ethos, right? He transformed it from a party that believed in something to a party that only believed in someone. And that's a really powerful thing. At the Lincoln Project, we helped Joe Biden beat Donald Trump in 2020 by disqualifying him. We went to the Republicans who were like me, the old Bush guys, the old Romney guys. It wasn't a lot. We only moved 4.63% of the Republican voters that we targeted over to Joe Biden. But it was enough. Got us home. Got us home in all the pieces. We actually did better. We got 5.49% of Republicans to flip over to Kamala Harris in our targeted states. And yet, Donald Trump went out there and went to young men, young African American men, young Hispanic men, because the Democrats had disconnected from them culturally. You know, on the DNC website, 2024, there was a page of coalitions. They did every damn thing you could hope for. LGBT, African American, Asian American, you know, everything. Wiccan flute players from Oregon. It had everything. You know what it didn't have? Young men. It had young African American men in one part of one other category. It didn't have young men. You tell young men in America at times that they're the villain, You tell, I know you guys may get this social media joke, you tell them you'll choose the bear enough times. There was a social media joke last year of women on Instagram saying, if you're alone in the woods, would you choose a man or a bear? And they all said bear. You tell them you're going to choose the bear enough times, they'll be like, all right, well, I'm going to vote for that other guy because he's an asshole and I like him. Transgression is a powerful thing with young men. But Trump went out and got 10 million votes. He shouldn't have had. Now,
Except for the voting machine issue.
there's no voting machine issue. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just going to tell you right now.
The smart game?
I'm really good at math, and I have people who work for me who are PhD mathematicians, statisticians, and who are voting machine technology experts. I wish it was as easy as that. You know why? Because I wish Trump had cheated. I wish just enough Americans hadn't voted for the son of a bitch twice. Okay? I wish I could explain it to you by magic or hat trick or scam or flim flam or hack. I wish I could. I wish I could tell you that. But he just beat the good guys. Now look, we had a lot of problems in this election. Joe Biden, as you may have heard, was quite old. The economy was difficult, to put it mildly, for a lot of Americans. And the Democrats got on the wrong side of the culture war. Well, two things about Republicans you should know. The first is kind of fun. The first industries to adopt a new technology, you know which two industries adopt new technologies first? Anybody know? The Republican Party and the porn industry. They always adopt new technology first. DVDs, porn. Data versus DVD, porn. Republican Party, digital targeting of voters, right off the bat. Okay? That's the funny part. The sad part is that the culture war that went on showed you the other rule. And that other rule is wherever Republicans are spending the most money is where the Democrats will F it up. We've seen it a million times. As a former Republican consultant, I can tell you, when we would lay out the bait and the Democrats would take it, and last year, the Republican Party in the presidential race and in down ballot races, including U.S. Senate, governors, House of Representatives, and State House of Representatives, State Senates across the country, down even to some county commission races we found in the Northeast. They used one issue that tore the Democratic coalition apart, that gave them those young Hispanic men, gave them those young black men, gave them those young white men, and that was the trans issue. As horrible and as cruel and as shitty as that manipulation of that issue, as much distortion as it included, they spent $363 million on it for a reason. I gotta tell you something, the Republican Party, you do not spend money for no reason. There's three rules. Rule 1, stay on message. Rule 2, if you have any questions about Rule 2, see Rule 1, okay? And just win. They knew they were going to be able to peel those voters off. It didn't matter that they were lying. It didn't matter that they were wrong. It didn't matter that it put trans people in danger. It worked. And the Democrats did not punch back in most cases. One Democrat did. Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin went in front of a camera and said, "This is bullshit. It's a lie. Stop it. I'm talking about your cost of living. I'm talking about your health care. I'm talking about the things that matter to the voters here." Worked. Harris campaign never did. Never could. Couldn't make themselves do it. Lincoln Project, as you may have heard, were pretty good at making ads. So we made an ad, punched back on it. We tested it, blew the doors off. It worked. We took it to the Future Forward PAC, the big Democratic PAC, $1 billion in the bank. And they were like, "Oh no, we can't do this. It would cause our own allies to be mad at us." And literally, Stuart Stevens and I were on this call like, "The fuck is wrong with your brains? Come back to us on election day and see how you like this decision." But that culture war trap is something now Trump has inverted. He's in a culture war trap of his own making. They promoted the Epstein lie for a decade. They said, "Oh, the Democrats are eating babies in a pizza restaurant in Washington, D.C. They're all pedophiles. Somebody clipped it up. And now there's nothing to see here. Move on. This is a great moment to divide the MAGA base. They are divided. They are now also realizing that trade wars and giving Elon Musk a big fat tax cut is about to screw them to the floor. Steve Bannon and I do not get along. We are not frequently in agreement, as you can imagine. But Steve Bannon is instead a big bad bill. A lot of these MAGA voters are on Medicare, are on Medicaid, are on SNAP, or on TANF, or on disability. You know, America's super lavish social safety net, he said ironically. Bannon realized it. He figured it out. The bill's going to come due politically on this thing. It is not going to be pretty. Rural healthcare systems are already collapsing because of this thing. We are going to see a major, major blowback. Some of it will hit in 26. All of it will hit by 28. But thank God our struggling billionaires finally got the tax cut. I felt for him, man. I just got choked up. Look, what you guys do is the tip of the spear. What I do is talk online, make ads, do politics. But organization matters. Grassroots matters. You can't pay for the stuff that Indivisible does in a lot of ways. Believe me, they tried last year. They would spend $100 million for the Harris campaign in Pennsylvania to turn out voters. And a few of us who do math, what, you know, you're turning out Republicans, right? And you turn out Republican neighborhoods too. Like, how do we reach them? Oh, I'm sure, my friends. But what you do is give people hope that there's a fight to be had. Because fighting actually matters. Being in the battle actually matters. Being there, whether it's a No King's March or a Good Trouble event or something smaller, just tell Ron DeSantis to go fuck himself once in a while. I have known him for many Florida governors. He is a singularly terrible human being. And the one really satisfying thing was that Lady Macbeth, his wife, will not be better. So, organizing matters. Being engaged matters. Whether you're just following the news and sharing good content, or whether you're out marching in the streets, it matters. It's a big boat. There's a lot of oars in the big boat. We all got to pull the oars in the same direction. So I really admire what you guys do. I really think that we are entering an era where not only the activism you do, but the conversations you're going to be able to have with your mom, friend, your family members are really important. Not just you got taken by that con artist. Now it's going to be a chance for you to say, things are going better, are they? Egg prices aren't coming down. Gas is still sunk. The trade war is burning. You can go to Walmart or Target or Hobby Lobby or wherever, and the prices are up. And the world isn't changing. So let's talk about it. And engaging with people, you don't have to accept their bullshit about wild conspiracy theories, okay? But you can reach out to them and say, look, he took advantage of you. He played you, tricked you. He's good at it. God, he's good at it. It's persuasive as hell. But the world doesn't have to be that way. And again, we don't have to win over every single MAGA voter. By the way, you're not going to win over the guy with the Trump flags on the pickup truck with the Trump nuts and the sticker of Joe Biden tied up in the back. You're not going to win that guy over. But they lost people in 24 in a lot of demographics. They made it up by that 10, 15 million that Harris couldn't pick up. They're going to lose people this year in the 26 cycle. They're going to lose a lot more people in 28. Because the good news is, every single one of these mooks that wants to be president after Trump, oh my God. Do tell. As you guys know, I do enjoy a little bit of vicious political behavior from time to time. And I do enjoy tearing the hide off of bad people and sticking it up on the barn. There's a really meaningful chance that Coakley Von Fail's son, Donald Trump Jr., will be the nominee in 2020. Yeah. You think I'm kidding. You think, oh, it's going to be Jimmy Vance. Oh, all contrary. Marco Rubio would really like to be president. but watching him, like, every time he's next to Trump, it looks like he's in a hostage video. You're expecting to, like, read a list of demands every time. Look, there's a real chance that 28 is the most consequential election of our lives. And we'll see who the Democrats put up. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't have any opinions on it right now. Except that it should be somebody who's great on TV, can talk to real people, gives a damn about Americans who aren't just the progressive part of the base. You got to go out, they're going to have to go out and do the work in the rest of America. We cannot live in a country where we write off 35 states every election. We have to live in a country that's going out Thank you for your time. I know I talked for a long time. And I'm going to turn this back over to you. And I'm happy to answer questions if you want.
Thank you, and I just wanted to sort of put an exclamation point on some of Rick's statements. There's a reason why we brought him out. I definitely agree with most all of the things that he said. In particular, I agree that we have to do something about the working class in the United States of America. We cannot ignore that group of people because Hispanics and blacks and whites essentially see themselves as being the same in many ways. 60 to 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And I don't know whether you saw this before COVID happened, but in 2016, 2017, 2018, the lifespan of the United States of America went down. If the lifespan of America is going down and you're the status quo party, you're not going to win any elections. And we are 49th in the world in terms of lifespan. And our class mobility is the worst of all developed countries. We're 27th in the world as far which measures if you're born poor, will you die poor? If you're born rich, will you die rich? We passed a marker in 2016, and none of us saw it. It was on Market Watch. I don't know whether you saw this, where the middle class became a minority in the United States. The middle class is measured by basically, are you 2/3 of the mean or twice the mean? So this was somewhere between $47,000 and $125,000 in 2016. And we were officially 49% middle class in this country. If we are dropping from the middle class and the middle class is sinking, the Democratic Party better do something about that, or we're not going to remain a party, right? It's interesting, I was saying this to Rick earlier, which is that we have to take advantage of this situation because right now we're headed for a precipice in terms of the dollar. The dollar has dropped by 10% because of Trump's tariffs. And the traders came forward and they said, "What are you doing? Stop doing these tariffs." So Trump said, "Well, there's a 90-day reprieve on it." and then proceeded to do the same thing over and over again. And so inflation is up by 2.7%. And it's only going to get worse, folks, because we've been on this train before, right? There was all sorts of disruptions under COVID, and the inflation was a lagging indicator. But the Democratic Party can't just point to inflation and point to Trump and say, we're not that. We have to offer something against oligarchy. I'm a capitalist, but I'm a 1950s capitalist. Eisenhower had a marginal tax rate of 90%. Now, I don't want to put it up to 90%, but I certainly don't want to have our current tax rate for the wealthy. A third of all workers were in labor unions in the 1950s. It's interesting you talk about the family member who just is absolutely angry and he's working for a call center. The largest employer in the United States of America in the 1950s was General Motors. Those were good union jobs.
Yep.
Second biggest private employer was Ford. Again, union jobs. Corporations had a sense of community. They gave to their workers. They cared. The largest employer, private employer in the United States today is Walmart. The average Walmart team member gets $16 an hour. Bud and Sam gave $100 billion through all sorts of tax schemes to the four inheritors of the Walmart fortune. They are now worth $440 billion. And Walmart workers need to have a food drive to have Thanksgiving. The first thing you do when you go to Walmart, to work for Walmart, is they show you how to collect welfare and benefits. So your tax dollars are going straight into the pockets of the Walmart family. And if the Democratic Party doesn't do anything about it, within the decade, we'll have our first trillion-dollar family. So it's interesting. Sometimes if you start talking about wealth inequality or wealth income inequality, they say, you want to redistribute the wealth. Well, I got news for you. The wealth is being redistributed. It's being redistributed to the top. Right? And if the Democratic Party isn't talking about it, we're not going to survive. The second biggest employer is Amazon. Your average Amazon line worker is earning $22 an hour. A little bit better than Walmart. This is atrocious, and we got this clown going to Europe for his some ungodly wedding, right? So we have to start talking about this. We have to start talking about having a living wage in this country. In some cities, we have people that are working 2 and 3 jobs and living out of their cars. This is unacceptable. We have homeless veterans. They nearly gave up they had to risk their lives in order to come back to the United States to live in poverty. This is unacceptable in the richest country in the world. We cannot accept it. And the Democratic Party better start talking about it and stop talking about some of these cultural issues, which are honey traps, as you said. Right? I am tired of losing elections. I am done talking about how you define a woman. I'm over it. No more of that. So I just wanted to bring it back to the main issue, because when you're talking about Jeffrey Epstein and you're talking about Trump, they are the symptom. They are not the disease. Once we get rid of Trump, everything is not going to be all better. The Democratic Party better start creating livable wages in this country. And if we don't, then we're just going to have perhaps somebody even worse. Cokehead Don, or I don't know, J.D. Vance. Somebody who's picked by Peter Thiel and some of these techno-billionaires. And there's also another ticking clock, right? Because the tech billionaires who got a huge tax write-off have been deregulated, and they want artificial, generalized intelligence. And if we don't control them, they are going to use this for all sorts of nefarious things. So it's really, the dystopian novels that talk about a technological dystopia, much like China, they're not fiction, potentially, anymore. All of the technology is there. And now Trump is giving them the keys to the kingdom. And don't fall into this, Elon Musk and Trump pay each other nonsense. This is all for the cameras. He is going to give this country to the techno-billionaires, as long as they give him a few scraps from the table. So Democrats better stand up and start talking about some of these things.
Yeah. It's incredibly important to understand. Those $22 an hour Amazon workers, Jeff Bezos, within 3 years, is going to replace 90% of them with robots.
Yes.
Okay? We don't have an economic terrain that we understand in a post-AI environment. It doesn't even just take AGI, much less ASI. ASI is this weird Silicon Valley fantasy that they're going to create God. I kid you not. That can upload all of it into the cloud forever. But right now, even regular AI, LLMs like ChatGPT and Claude, they're replacing programmers, they're replacing accountants, they're replacing actuaries. Watch what happens when AI comes for lawyers in a couple of years. It's going to be delicious. But they will find any way. Look, there's a philosophy that was born on Wall Street, inherited by Silicon Valley, that the quarterly report, the quarterly profits are the only thing. Remember, for a company in Silicon Valley or on the markets today, your product is not what you ostensibly make. Your product is your stock price. The more you cut, the more people you hurt, the more people you fire, the better your stock price. That's their product. We're in a set of, it's not a free market question anymore. They rely on incredible federal regulatory capture. But why is it that X, or Twitter as I refuse to call it X in public, why is it that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all these other platforms can cause all this damage to young people? Self-harm, suicide, all this damage to young people. Why is it they can have people out there casually on Twitter, their AI calls itself Mecha Hitler and talks about how we should kill the Jews? Why is it that none of those people have any liability? It's called Section 203. The federal government protects it, that commerce protects it, like is the crown jewels. That shields them from all legal liability for anything. Literally, Facebook could be telling people tomorrow, go out and split your wrist in the street, and some meaningful fraction of people would do so, and they have no legal liability whatsoever. You can't sue them, government can't regulate them, can't touch them. We are, and look, I say this is a free market guy. We are not in a world where there's a free market. Wall Street, private equity, Silicon Valley, they have captured the entire government. Listen, if you're a lobbyist in DC, the easiest money in the world is to just go and say, I'd like to represent you, TikTok or Facebook, and you'll get a job. They spend billions of dollars protecting this economic model that has put this country on a collision course with an unemployment rate that we've never seen since the Great Depression or more. It's coming very quickly. And again, if the Democrats want to get ahead of this, they won't have the same calamity with the professional class, the white-collar, gray-collar jobs, as they've had with working-class voters. Working-class voters were lured to Trump because he told people, yeah, I get how pissed off you are, I'm going to hurt people for you. It's not a great governing philosophy, as you can imagine. It's sort of, say no populism, as Ted Snyder calls it. Such a great phrase. Such a great phrase. I mean, I thought I peaked at Cheeto Jesus. But it is a challenge ahead. And look, it is don't take the bait of the culture war. Like, look, David Jolly is running for governor of Florida. David's out there right now. And people are like, what about the trans athletes? He's like, what about your property insurance costs, you bitch? You push it back onto quality of life, ability to afford a simple life, even. And this state has gotten crazy expensive. It's not the state that it was 20 or 30 years ago. I'm a fifth-generation Floridian. And I know it's like that old thing. My parents bought a very nice home in Tampa in a beautiful suburb back in the late 60s for $18,000. Our old house is on the market right now for $2.4 million. It's insanity. It's nuts. It's bonkers. It's crazy town. But this idea that Florida, in particular, has become incredibly unaffordable. There are people in the state paying more in insurance in coastal areas than they pay in mortgage. There's an opening there for the Democrats. You know what they're not going to win on? Policy. When you go, you must read page 417 of my climate plan, appendix 2, of course, before you understand it. People go, get the fuck out of here. But when you say, I'm going to stop these banks and insurance companies from fucking you over, I'm going to work hard every day. I'm not going to let the lobbyists in Tallahassee get what they want every single time. That's something the Republicans can't do. They are on the tip of every lobbyist in this town. They will never leave it. They depend on it. They modify their behavior. These free market Republicans are the same guys out there saying, oh God, the poor property insurance companies, if we don't help them, they're just going to collapse and they won't. So that's why your insurance goes up and up and up. There's a populist angle that Democrats can take that isn't about race and hatred and animus. It's about helping ordinary people live a better life. And then you get to it. So, all right, Cons, go.
Just one thing. Murkowski tried this. Murkowski tried this at the Big Beautiful Bill. Well, if I don't vote for it, taxes on my constituents will go up. Of course, the reporter did not say, oh, you mean on the billionaires in your state it will go up. No, they just let it drop there. Democrats have got to be prepared to say, when a Republican points at, you want to raise taxes, you're damn right I do. I want to raise it on all of these billionaires that are taking away your retirement bill. Yes, I'm going to raise their taxes because I'm going to do it to help you.
Well, I should say basically, yeah, I'm going to raise taxes on the number of people that's in the average high school student population in this country. About 1,000 people would really bear the burden. Because you know what? About 1,000 people got about 90% of the benefit of the 2017 tax law. And again, this idea that Republicans represent some kind of free market behavior is ludicrous. They are about this. They are about a Putin-style kleptocracy at this point. And again, as you pointed out, Trump will sell this country out to the crypto bros for table scraps. He'll sell them out to crypto bros like Mark Andreessen and Peter Thiel and Sam Altman for pennies on the dollar. Because Trump doesn't get it. He's not really that smart. He's feral, he's cunning, but he doesn't really understand the economy that he's selling us out to. And look, the Democrats can be a step ahead of this. They really can. They really can. Right now, Elon Musk is trying to create an AI that makes animated porn balls online. Democrats seem to be talking about an economy that uses AI to create real jobs for real people. And look, there is no reason why a process can't be taxed on a company.
Yay.
You know what? If I gotta think it through a little bit, why not a tax on AI? Why not a tax on the process of AI? Why not weigh the job costs of AI and hit those companies with 5 years worth of the social costs that the government wants to absorb of dislocation and economic calamity for those workers? There's a lot of ways to explain this dance. So, yes, ma'am.
How did it come about these companies like Amazon don't pay taxes?
Well, there's a very complex international taxation model they use. They corporately are on paper headquartered in Ireland, which has no corporate tax. They do their banking through the Caymans or a couple of other countries like Morocco. And there's a very baroque international finance system where they essentially are able to write down almost everything. And no, Amazon basically pays no taxes.
Yeah, just like.
And look, our tax system is built this way because over time, and I'm going to blame the Democrats too, because they've done just as much of this bullshit. They have their lobbyists and Republicans' lobbyists often are the same people or the same companies with different individual lobbyists. And they'll say, hey, listen, my friends in this company, they're in your state, you need some help on this stupid little line in the IRS tax code. And that stupid little line says, oh, well, Boeing doesn't have to pay taxes, essentially. And they'll always word it in some way that it would take an army of semioticians and tax attorneys to figure out. But that's what they have, armies of people. To mitigate $1 billion in taxation, you'd spend $50 million in lawyers to figure out a trick. And the system is absolutely rigged from the top down for the tax code. It is, if you really wanted to do Doge, if you really wanted to do it, you'd rip through the tax code with a chainsaw. You'd use AI to go through the 450,000 pages of tax code in the country that says, identify any tax code line item that specifically benefits an individual company. And you strike it. And the revenues to the United States would go up by trillions of dollars a year. And again, that should be the capitalist answer to it. That's the actual free market answer, not the kleptocracy answer.
One of the things that I think that we should start talking about is breaking up the tech companies.
Oh, yes.
There's no question about that. And it's interesting because Trump started to talk about it in the last election. He was like, you saw some of that, right? And I thought, this is an extortion scheme. He's simply doing this to get paid off.
He did.
And that's exactly what he did. And so he's laid this into our laps. I mean, if he's not talking about breaking up the tech companies, and the Republicans are not talking about it, certainly his base is in favor of it. His base hates the tech companies. And it's interesting, I do harass my students and I say, you're looking at a Chinese company. And that Chinese company might not be giving you Chinese technology. I'm talking about TikTok. But they are going to show you the absolute worst of this country. They are going to try to stir hatred, division. By the time you watch enough TikTok videos, you will think to yourself, wow, this country is terrible. Our Constitution is terrible. We're not following it, so why not just throw it out? And I'm getting that sentiment from a lot of people, which is it's so broken that what we need is a strong leader.
Man on the horse.
The strong leader is going to come in and save us. And that is exactly what she wants. And don't you believe it when you say TikTok is located in Singapore. That's ridiculous. That's another fun company. The CCCP is doing what the CCP always wants to do, which is to undermine America. It's interesting right now, we have this bumbling fool in office and Pete Hegseth, a drunk, and we are in a struggle that is similar to the Cold War with China and their junior partner, Russia. And we're playing with both hands tied behind our backs. And so this is a travesty. We should ban TikTok. I don't want the Chinese government talking to my grandchildren, which I don't have yet, but I want them, and telling them that America is terrible. I mean, when did we open up the minds of our youth to the absolute worst human beings on this planet? When did that become acceptable? It's all about money, right? It's interesting if you watch YouTube and you watch a little documentary on the Third Reich, you'll get a series of Hitler videos, you'll get stuff on the Eastern Front. A lot of our youth are falling into sort of a Hitler hole.
They're what I call dictator curious.
But they're 12 and they're 13 and they're 14, 15 years old. Mostly boys. This is absolutely unacceptable. And the tech bros don't care about our children. It's interesting, when I was growing up in the 80s, they had this commercial that came on at 10 o'clock at night, and they said, it's 10 o'clock at night. Do you know where your children are? And we should have a similar commercial. It's 10 o'clock at night. Do you know where your kids are on the internet? Because a lot of the time, they're not up to any good, right? And so we need to protect our children. This is something that we should be talking about yet in the Democratic Party. We're not going to turn over our children's minds to the Chinese government, to YouTube, to Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't care about our children at all. And so if we're not protecting our children, certainly the tech bros aren't going to do it for us.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, everything that I've heard is great, but how do we get past the disinformation machine without finding some way to charge the Fox News, the OAN, the liars that just get up there and lie? How do we get past that?
Well, look, Fox has paid $787 million so far.
And MAGA doesn't have
Now, Smartmatic is about to take their pants down and spank it so hard it's going to make that payment go Smartmatic probably going to collect somewhere around $2.9 billion. Even for Rupert, that's real money. Newsmax had a settle with Dominion. Dominion now owns a good chunk of Newsmax. They haven't done anything with it yet, but I am told there's what we call fuckery, folks. The courts have been used effectively by the right to intimidate for lawfare purposes. So last year, Mike Flynn sued me for $10 million because I called him a Putin employee and I was beating him on Twitter. And it took 2 years, actually it was 2 years ago, it took 2 years to cost me a ridiculous amount of money, which we recovered. Court said, pay the legal fees. But I beat Mike Flynn like a cheap mule. You can't let it intimidate you. Now, lawfare is a thing. Democrats do not frequently deploy it because they think it's a bad thing. But right now, it's kind of like World War I. And when you're a rifleman sitting in a trench and you don't have tanks, you're going to have a bad day. We need to deploy the same kind of weapons against these people. We ought to be targeting the charlatans. We ought to be targeting the people that are spreading disinformation about vaccines. We ought to be shooting the shit out of people who promote the plan and shooting the shit out of people who promote violence against African Americans. And you say that, you know, that this country, we're under white genocide in this country. We ought to use the tools that are out there. You can't leave tools on the table right now. These guys are going to accelerate what they do. They showed us on January 6, 2021, that they would use terrorist violence to try to achieve a political end. I'm not suggesting we use the same thing, but we've got to hold people to account when they do things that are deliberately designed to destroy this country's republic, to destroy the democratic system that 10 generations of Americans have fought and died for. Okay. Yes, you have a question.
How do we fight that when the Supreme Court is allowing you to do whatever you want?
Well, Clarence Thomas ain't gonna live forever. Look, the red court is a problem. And most of you heard of the Federal Society, which is how we got the court we had. And literally, went on a long march. He did not do this because he liked to see his friends wearing robes. He did it for power. Now, there will be days to come. It won't be this time. We're going to have a long time with this court still. Alito and Thomas. Thomas is not well. He's demographically not going to last forever. I hope he does what we did at Ginsburg and insists on staying there until we have a Democratic president. That would be great. But the court's given up its power to the executive. The only way to stop the executive right now is to beat the shit out of them in 2026 and take back the House. That's it. That's the law. There's 24 House races and 2 Senate races. North Carolina is our Senate. Because we're either going to have Mark Robinson, who is singularly the worst political candidate I've seen in almost 4 years in this operation, in this business, or we're going to have Laura Trump. Now, Laura Trump, when she's not busy being a Fox host, is also a singer. Which, by singer, I mean she sounds like you threw a loud hog and a bunch of old beer cans into a wood chipper. But that race is gettable. And there are an increasing number of House races that are vulnerable. I mean, I just came out of the field in Virginia, where we're going to do a lot of work to get Abigail Spanberger elected to the and we're New Jersey and Ontario, right? We want to set a narrative this year that next year is going to be a blowout. We have to take control of Congress. And when we do, it cannot be my honorable friend on the other side of the aisle. Right. Hakeem Jeffries that day, he used to get on the phone and call Donald Trump and say, "Motherfucker, party's over. This is it. Nothing. You get nothing. All this stuff. Cut down all this craziness that's happening. And just tell him, you can either go quietly or we'll take you out politically speaking feet first." And they need to start holding these people accountable. I want Tom Homan. and Christy Miller, and read legislation to Miller in front of Congress every damn day. If they don't finish this one, they can be dragged to the next one. And when they say, I'm not talking to you, they need to be held in contempt. This is, you gotta use power. Unless you use power, it doesn't exist. Yes, ma'am.
One problem though, you all have talked about the Democratic Party, and I agree, long-term member, I get it. And I get a lot of communication from them, email, text message, snail mail. Can you send me $5? Can you send
Of course.
me $15? Can you contribute to that? I am sick of it. And anything, we need the party to get off its ass.
This is probably not the most appropriate time to say there is money going around. But I can tell you one thing. I think the Democrats, here in this town, are worth your time and your energy and even your money. Just to talk about, on Saturday, we're going to have a rally at the Capitol with Jeremy Matlow. We need to support our local politicians here and our local groups. So certainly keep your eye on the prize nationally, but I give you permission to give locally.
One other thing is, yes, they beat the drum every day. When they put some wins on the board, it'll feel different. But they got to put some wins on the board. And by the way, the D-Trip and the DNC have a shit ton of money.
Yes.
Future Forward, the super PAC for Harris, ended the year last year, and this is a goddamn mystery to me, with over $150 million still in the bank of $1 billion that they raised. Well, you didn't spend that? You didn't go out and just, die broke in a campaign. Every year, the Lincoln Project, we go out, we dump our money at the end into all these races that we target, and we end the year with like $75 in the bank. I got to go out and raise more money for millionaires. But yeah, it's a cycle. Okay, hang on, well, people, nobody's over here. Yes, in the back. Yes, ma'am.
How concerned should we be that mainstream media is capitulating?
Completely concerned. You should be freaked the fuck out. Listen, the CBS capitulation to Trump was because Sherry Redstone wanted to sell Paramount to Skydance. That's completely what happened. And I promise you, some monkey in Trump's universe called her up and said, you either settle with Trump and give him a bribe, or we're not going to let you do the merger. Somebody from the FTC called and said that, or the FCC, whichever one it was, and said that. These people think about everything with the media stuff as they're like dealing with the mafia. They're dealing with an extortionist. What's the rule when you deal with an extortionist? Don't pay the freaking extortionist. These law firms that gave Trump free legal help and gave him money and all this stuff, now they will never get out from underneath them. You can't bow to an extortionist. Yes, you had a question.
I'm just concerned that the pendulum is going to swing, like in New York. They now have what we might consider a much more socialist person.
Oh, but by the time the year is over, Fox News will have transformed it into Joseph Stalin. And they'll say, when he names his deputy mayor for seizing the means of production. Oh yeah,
So
they're gonna have fun.
do we just sit back and we wait for 26 to happen? Is
No,
that literally-
you say-
No, I know that these races, and believe me, I'm at the Capitol all the time. And I am probably one of the louder people. I've lost a few friends. Well, on social media, I don't know. You're not really my friends, they're my husbands. It's kind of like you sit here, sometimes you get like over when I'm like ready to put a complete socialist in the office, because maybe we'll actually have some good happen.
I get it. I get it. But
Not
there's the deep conditioning in the Republican Party is to believe that every Democrat is a communist.
right.
And if you put a gun to their head, they can't describe communism to you. And people I don't like. People who give those people. But in some ways, you can't be afraid of it. You can't be afraid of the label. You have to go and change the topic. You have to,
I don't know, but how do we?
yeah, you have to say, you
How
can
do
call
we
me
make it-
Mary frickin' Poppins if you want, but I'm gonna cut your home insurance rates. I'm gonna cut the taxes you're paying for groceries. I'm gonna make sure that big companies don't screw you over. There's a, not accepting the predicate of stupidity is an important human trait. And yeah.
It's all about reelection.
Oh,
I mean, we need to move beyond this Chuck Schumer character. And I don't agree with Mondani in every single thing. I don't agree with AOC in every single thing. I don't agree with Bernie in every single thing. But at least they're authentic. At least they say what's on their mind. At least they're not scripted. We're feeling that we need new blood in the Democratic Party. And that is, some of these old folks, they've done a great job, but they need to step aside for the younger crowd.
Chuck Schumer sending sternly worded letters ain't it, boss. That ain't it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen a couple things happening recently that when I put them together concern me a great deal.
Okay.
The crypto bill that just went
Yep.
through the House today. The Trump coin, which is a bribery fund.
Bribery scheme.
The fact that he wants to fire Jerome Powell.
Yep.
And you mentioned it earlier, it's at the fact that the dollar's off 10.7%. Is he forcing manufacturing a currency crisis?
So I don't know, I'm taking fire away from Rick, but I see Trump as having a kind of a thumbprint. He whatever he touches dies, as the book said, which is one of the things is I think that given the opportunity, he will bankrupt this nation.
Yeah, sure.
Because he has already bankrupted 5 businesses, and this crypto thing, you should be afraid because it has the stench of credit default swaps.
Credit default swaps look like a savings and loan.
Right.
So there are the 4 horsemen of the dollar apocalypse on the horizon. There's the cryptocurrency. There's the tariffs. We've got $40 trillion in debt, which is going to throw that off. So, I'm not saying that don't pull your money in gold, but, gold is not necessarily, when the dollar goes down, gold is not a bad investment. So you heard it from me here first. Don't buy shitty gold from some huckster, but, hedge your bets a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Besides national politics, I've wondered what's happened to the state of Florida. It wasn't that long ago. We were having triple states.
Yeah, Democrats didn't invest in voter registration for about 20 years, and the Republicans spent money doing it.
Yeah.
And the only way you do voter registration anymore is to dump money into it. I don't want to see a single goddamn TV ad from the Democratic Party of Florida until they spend the same amount of money on voter reg. This is not a hard problem. Now, I will also say this to caution my Democratic friends: there are several issues in the state of Florida that have absolutely are wrong-footed for the state as it really is. When you have to fight the war you're in, gun control does not work in the state of Florida. Parkland is a horrible tragedy, but you know what? 35.8% of the people in the state of Florida with a concealed carry permit are African American or Hispanic Democrats.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to convince those people that that's a horrible thing, look at the results. How did Republicans like me take North Florida Democrats away from the Republican Party? Guns. Guns. It was guns. It was 100% guns. For years, they sent them flyers like, they're taking away your hunting rifle. Over and over again. And they bought it. That's not an issue that works. The trans stuff in Florida also, this is a fairly culturally conservative state, especially in Hispanic communities in South Florida. Socialism is not popular in South Florida. In fact, I recommended to Joe Biden in 2020. This was rejected by the Biden team, but they should have done it. I hope somebody will eventually do this. You need to send, if you're a Democratic statewide candidate, you need to go down and stand in the middle of the Calle Ocho in Miami and give a big fiery speech and say, Fidel Castro was a monster who should burn in hell for 1 billion years. Because those people believe that every centrist Democrat is just like Castro or just like Maduro. It's insane, but it's true. Policy here, not a winner. Economics can be a winner. Yes, sir. And I'm getting to you next, I know.
Okay, 2 questions, y'all.
Louder.
I'll repeat the question. Go on.
2 questions. 1, the DMV right now is the greater of the voter registration tools in Florida. What do we do about that? That's 1. The second is, brainstorm out with me the whole situation about rescissions versus appropriations processes versus government shutdown, and what should we be doing within all that with the machinery that's going on?
Okay, I can't answer the DMV question because I don't know who lobbies for who, but if you think that Ron DeSantis is on the up and up about the voter file state of Florida, I have some terrible news.
I'm talking about, you probably have to try to persuade those people, give them that.
As for rescissions and government shutdowns, this is one of those things that the Democrats have got this thing in their head. Like, well, if the Republicans say shut down the government, we'll take damage for it. If the things being passed in the rescissions kill off Big Bird and USAID and harm seniors and screw veterans, then you should burn it to the goddamn ground. Shut it all down. For once in their lives, do something dramatic. It isn't like, look, I love watching the long speeches on the floor, like the 24-hour marathons, all that's great stuff. Until you cause them pain, pain is the only teacher in politics, folks. I have tried a million times to persuade people in politics, elected officials, but man, when elected officials suddenly realizes that their voters are pissed at them, they get real busy real fast. So, look, this rescission bill is going through it's going to happen. It's the USAID cuts in particular because he wants to run in 2028. He wants to be able to say, I killed a bunch of kids in Africa to show how tough I was. Yes, ma'am.
With the education system being attacked by the government, but also TikTok and all of the social media and AI controlling our students and our children, how are we going to continue our party with the future generations?
Make better content.
Yeah.
I mean, make better content. You know what? Here's a funny story. So I do something like 750 podcasts. I have a Lincoln Product podcast. I have the Inner Business podcast. I have the Elephant in the Room podcast. I do Fast Politics, Smart Drunk Fast every Monday. I'm always on podcasts, right? People are like, why the F did you start a podcast at the Lincoln Project? Because in 2020, our pollster came back and said, 62.5% of Americans say that podcasts are their #1 source of news about politics. Trump figured it out 2 years later, or 4 years later this time, and really did a great, brilliant strategic move by going on Joe Rogan, going on Theo Vaughn, going on the Null Brothers. Big podcast with a lot of young men listening. Again, talking about the trans stuff on this podcast. Building good content matters. Listen, most ads that come out of the D-Trip and the DNC, I wouldn't put those ads up for a goddamn dog catcher in Palatka, Florida. They're awful. They're boring. They're stupid. I make things that are funny and emotional because that's what works. The heart and the gut beat the head all the time. That's what your ad should do. But building better content, that's the political ecosystem we live in now. This is a content-driven ecosystem. And it's not just about knocking doors. That's important. It's not just about going out there and drum beating, 500 phone calls or text messages. It's about having a better message. It's more appealing, more compelling, more of a spectacle than the other guy's spectacle. All right, you've had your hand up. You're going to kick my ass if I don't call it.
Okay,
so two things. Okay, number one is David Jolly. Do you think we should put our support behind him? Number two is when David Hogg left the DNC. That was stupid. I mean, they should have absolutely not heard him. Because now the guy that's in charge of the DNC is an asshole.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because we're, this Spitfire woman right here, the next person that is going to come talk to us will be David Hogg. This is exactly what we need. We cannot have these, stodgy careerists kicking out the vitality of the party. We just can't have that, and I agree entirely. Right? And so stay tuned, boys and girls, for the, we're thinking of David Hogg and perhaps David Jolly as well, and Maxwell Frost. So we're going to put
Look, I'll be perfectly transparent. David's a friend of mine. I've known David for years. We were on the same journey together away from the Republican Party. There have been some Democrats who's sort of grumbled, I can't be a progressive. How's that been working out for you so far? Look, I will tell you one thing about David Jolly. He is that communicator I told you about earlier. He doesn't take the bait, he stays on message, and he's got an economically driven message that I can assure you is what will work over the old cluster of let's go and make every group happy, let's go and make every club happy, let's go and conform to the whatever imaginary matrix might have worked 50 years ago. It doesn't work now. So he's also, look, he's a guy who can speak Republican to audiences that are soft Republicans, that Lincoln Project kind of audience. Look, I think they're bold of the guy. And I think it's bold as hell to go up against this Republican attack machine. But I think he's tough as nails. I think he's going to do a good job. He'll make you proud.
Is he going to do the Caliocho speech?
I'm going to tell him to.
I mean, I do like David Jolly, but I also like to see the chips fly. I'm just so sick of Democrats, being afraid of an internal battle. The way that we figure out who the best candidates are is let them go at each other, right? I mean, look at the most vicious campaign that had ever happened was 2008 between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And everybody said, oh no, we gotta stick together. Bullshit, right? Let them fight it out. And I'd love to believe that Rick is correct, that David Jolly can basically take back Florida. But let's give him a shot.
A lot of work to do.
Yeah.
5 minutes, you guys. 5 minutes. So.
Okay. Ma'am in the back in the blue dress.
How the hell did Randy Klein get elected?
So, if there were a pair of Republican douchebags, Randy Klein would be on the top of that lightning rod on the top of the pyramid, climbing up. I encountered Randy about 10 years ago. As I left the Republican Party already, but I knew people who knew him. And I was like, what is it that you find this appealing about this guy? He's a scummy casino machine executive. He's the worst human being in the world. Well, it's a really Republican district, like an R plus 13 district. And they came in and spent $1 gajillion in that district. And still, it wasn't the best possible race. But he is the kind of end product of redistricting in the state that has led to, my ex-wife was very redistricting for Congress in Florida, so we'll speak that there, which has led to a real problem in the state. The state party has discovered a loophole in Amendments 5 and 6 that were passed in 2010 that said redistricting has to be nonpartisan. And I'm going to be honest with you what they did, because I've been involved in this. I've sat in the room when this happened. the day the maps, or the day that the census data drops, a couple of lobbyists in this town get on the phone, they call every African-American member of Congress in Florida. And they say, hey, would you like your district to be 77% African-American or 64% African-American? Now, those people could win those districts with a much lower number. But the Republicans sell them on packing African-Americans into compacted districts. It is so counterproductive. Now, if those districts were truly nonpartisan redistricting, by the way, that to my mind is the secret sauce to fix so much of this country. And if I had $1 trillion, I'd go out and put it on the ballot in every state that has a ballot initiative process, and I'd spend what it takes to do it. Truly nonpartisan redistricting would be an amazing anti-corruption measure. It would produce a lot more centrist Republicans and a lot more centrist Democrats. You would have fewer places where a Republican or a Democrat who wins their seat at the age of 35 gets carried out feet first on a stretcher when they're 90, which I also believe in term is so much work in the day. But that redistricting is the linchpin of why you get Randy Fox, because the system is built to promote more and more and more extreme candidates. The primary system is so strong, the Republicans are like, well, no, I just don't want somebody who's going to arrest terrorists. I want somebody who promises they'll feed them to the alligators, you know?
How about multi-member district?
From that, I used to live in that district.
Oh, yes,
And the new guy, I don't even know who he was up on Tuesday.
right?
And then all of a sudden, everything shifted. It felt like there's a shitload of money that came in.
The Republicans dumped a gigantic wad of quan in that race at the end. The Republicans do hate Randy Fox. They're aspiring. He literally is an embarrassing human being. Okay, yes, sir.
So I think the gerrymandering is one of the major issues in our democracy right now. But, you know, to your point about packing, I mean, you had a Supreme Court, you know, agreeing with the safest maps and both of those maps. And you get rid of CD5. I feel like there are maybe a few solutions for it, but it's not an appetite for change.
Oh, no, there's zero appetite for change. And again, this is in part because a lot of Democrats really like having a safe seat. Do you need to have a plus 20 seat or a plus 18 seat? No, you don't. You should, no matter what you are, you should be able to go and fight a more competitive race if it means there are more seats on the board in play every year.
I mean, so I guess
Right now, there's not one. I mean, just an honest answer. We have a Supreme Court in the state and a national Supreme Court, neither of which have any inclination to do redistricting cases at all. None. Or you win a majority in the legislature, and then the ballgame changes. I know that's a long way off. It's not as far as you think in the Senate, but it's a long way off. Okay, last one. Yes, sir.
You're talking about the need for younger Democrats and more centrists. What do you think about the future of the government for this?
I'm a friend of Andy Beshear. He is a great guy. He has been able to win in a red state. He's been able to talk to red state voters very effectively. Does that mean he's going to win the presidency? I don't know. Do I think he's going to get in? I think he probably will. We'll see how it plays. Again, I am not putting on my 2028 hat. God, I hope I'm retired by then. I really would stop doing that. I could have retired before I left the Trump, before I went up against Trump in 15. I literally could have been like, okay, I'm done. I had a good career. It was great. And now, I'm 61 years old. I get up and work my ass off every day. It's just what's wrong?